Hey everybody, welcome to another model building workshop. I'm Mr. Allen. I'm coming to you from my basement workshop here in Providence, Rhode Island. And recently we talked about this guy. This is the Panzer III H, the swimming version, the Tauchpanzer. When we talked about this guy, this is a Dragon model kit from the 1990s. So it's got all the different weighting abilities. So I thought we'll back it up a bit and we'll look at some other Panzer IIIs, and this is the standard Panzer III H model here. So you notice there's a lot of similarities, but obviously there's a few differences on this. Like you don't have, juggle both, like Superman here, juggling two tanks. So you'll see that this one here has got all the fording stuff on it. So there are some different features on it. You'll notice that on the engine decks, if I can get this to cooperate with me here. Yeah. This one up here has got the engine grills, and this is closed. They're all buttoned up because they've got the waterproof pieces on top. You've got the fording snorkel thing there on it, and a few other devices. There's an extra ring around the turret here to help protect water leakage there. And this has got a solid engine deck, as you can see, where there's raised louvers for the ventilation on the regular 3 H here. So, yeah, those are some of the more obvious differences on them. So this is a standard Panzer III H, and before I mentioned that they did the switch to the new road wheels, a new drive sprocket, a new idler wheel that the Panzer IIIs up to this point, and when I say that I really mean the E, F, and G models, because the earlier A, B, C, and D we're still experimenting with different suspension systems. It's on the E that they began to adopt a suspension system like this one that we recognize. This also has the return roller that's up closer to the front of the hull because of the added weight of the new track. Okay, I know I've said all this before, but just a recap for those of you who may have missed that episode. So this is the standard, shall we call it, Panzer III H. It's got the added armor, bolt-on attached armor there to the front, which is also on the swimming version there. This still has the short-barreled 50mm gun. I think that's the L42. Pretty sure it's the L42 gun. Yeah. And they later move up to the L60, longer-barreled 50mm gun, but that comes up on the J. We'll show you that in just a second. So this is the Dragon kit from the 1990s as well. I've had this around for a little while. And I decided to do this with a different decal marking option. And I know you're thinking, really, Mr. Allen? Wow, what a surprise. I know I tend to do that a lot. And I'll show you some of my rationale for that in just a moment. I was inspired by one of the Panzer Colors books. If you haven't seen those, they're pretty nice to look at from Squadron Signal, the Panzer Color books. So this one from the 2nd Panzer Division is in there. This is the 6th company of that division, which had some really interesting winged serpent emblems on it, which is only peculiar to this one company. So that's even a mascot. It's an oddity within an oddity that only this one company used this emblem. And so this is around 1941, like the invasion of Russia period, where they used this. And I opted to do that with this tank rather than the kit supply decals. So, it's cold. On goes the furnace. I don't know if you can hear that. So this Dragon kit, which has been around a while, because I know it's been reissued, but it's this version from back in the 90s. And you had a couple of decal options that came with this, and one is this one here, 711 from the 3rd Panzer Division. So there's that one, which isn't too bad. And there was another one, which I no longer have this kit around, the boxing and the instruction sheet, so I don't remember all of the details. But it does show a couple of other decal options in this picture, which I think I nabbed off of eBay. So you had a number 531. I'm not sure what the color scheme of that was, but judging as it being a black emblem, thinking it was a light colored vehicle. And it seems to be a number 1 as well, which I'm going to guess off the top of my head that was for the 15th Panzer Division in North Africa. But again, I'm not clear because I don't have the instruction sheet anymore. It's long gone. because I built this quite a while ago, and I have a kind of a pretty good file of old instruction sheets and stuff going here in my tiny little workroom here, but I don't have everything. Just saying. So the decal options, which aren't bad, I wanted something a little more colorful, so I opted to go with the one I just showed you, using a decal sheet to do up this this really cool 6th Company of the 2nd Panzer Division. So I went with that. And I'll be doing more things for the 2nd Panzer Division in the future because I like the trident emblem, and they had that cool eagle emblem that they used during the Battle of Kursk. So there's some interesting stuff that, you know, in their line for this particular division. So while we're talking Panzer IIIs, I might as well just finish this off and jump on to the J. So this is the Panzer III J, also by Dragon. And I've had this kit around for a while. So this has the long-barreled 50mm gun. And it's during the construction period for the J when they began to switch over to the long-barreled 50mm gun. So some of these Js were still getting the smaller 50mm gun during the production. They switched to the upgun versions. You'll notice on the front, the armor plating, it's welded. You don't have the bolt-on added armor anymore. So they've got a solid welded plate there. And you're going to notice the slightly different ball mount for the whole machine gun, which is different from the earlier H. You still have the door down below, if you can see that, where the crew could get out. And that eventually starts to fade out during the Panzer III, I think it's the L, where it became, it was on some but not all of the Ls that began to fade away from that to make a stronger hull design. So this is the J, and this camouflage scheme is 1943, I believe, for the, I think this is the 16th Panzer Grenadier Division. I don't know if you can see that funky emblem that they used, but that was for that unit, with this cool spotted camouflage used in Russia. So from what I've read, it's looking like this was the first of the Panzer III kits that Dragon, or in those days DML, I guess Dragon Models Limited, DML, had made. So this is the first of the Panzer IIIs, from what I gather, was this J model, and this was based on the parts from a older Gunze Sangyo kit from Japan. So this seems to be the one that started it all. So all the subsequent variants of the Panzer IIIs and the Sturmgeschütz models that Dragon put out, at least in the 90s, were based off the molds of this kit. And there was constant tinkering, shall we say, with the follow-up kits. They would have to change certain things, or they tell you to drill out this part, sand off that part, fill this piece, chop this off, because it tended to all come from this original Gunze Sangyo molding. At least that's the story that I've heard. If anybody has heard something different, please let me know. But that's the story that I had heard on how this came about. So this is an older kit, and that if you look carefully, you'll notice that the engine grills there are not photo etched. This is pre-photo etched, and that's from the original molding of the kit, where they didn't do that. They just had these solid plastic parts that you had to make look like they were mesh. And a little bit of careful painting there, I hope from that distance, so at least the screen here, it doesn't look too bad. When you get to the H here, which came out a few years later, that's actual photo etched screens to that one. So I'm sure there's other differences with these. I don't know. Looks like a lot of the same turret details on there. Obviously there's a different gun involved. Looks like a lot of the same parts, same equipment here. Yeah, a lot of similarities. Some changes to the engine deck. On the J is more of these style vents, and the H has different ones here. So anyway, there's a few more Panzer IIIs we can look at. I do intend to build more of these Dragon Panzer IIIs. I've got a bunch of them still from that 90s, early 2000 eras that I want to do. I've got the E. I think I've shown you the Flam Panzer III, which I had done, not that long ago actually. I did the Flam Panzer fairly recently. And there's other command versions and so forth. They did the whole allotment. And if you've noticed, they certainly have gone pretty in depth into the Sturmgeschütz, which I know other manufacturers are now going crazy building every single variant and every single concoction, whatever term you want to use, for the Sturmgeschütz 3s as well. So anyway, here's a quick look at, well, maybe not that quick, but here's a look at some Panzer IIIs, the H, the Swimming Panzer again, and the J. So hope you've had fun watching this, and keep on building, all right? We'll talk to you guys soon. Happy modeling.